Sup everyone, I'm your female otaku and I'm here to give you a very special interview with Johnny Yong Bosch. Johnny Yong Bosch is one of my favorite voice actors of all time. So very special thank you to the staff over at AnimeNext for allowing me to interview him. I also want to thank Isla McTeer, Mr. MJ Cosplay, and Abby of the Cartoon Cypher for giving me questions to ask Sir Bosch. I completely stuttered throughout the whole thing and I was totally nervous because you know I'm right there with my idol, but the interview turned out pretty great. We decided to ask him questions that you couldn't easily Google the answers to. And with that, we got some interesting results. Check it out.
Hello. So you are in the English dub for Devilman Crybaby and Children of the Whales,
yes.
Both of them being Netflix originals. What's it like to work on a Netflix English dub?
Oh, it's great. It's awesome. I worked on the first one I did was Knights of Sidonia, which, as far as I know, I think it was the first Netflix anime. But then I did AUDITION. So yeah, no, it's awesome. It's great. I recorded at the same place, you know, the same studio. But yeah, it's a great studio. I work for great people there. Yeah.
Okay, nothing different from the usual, really? Not
really. You know, as an actor, as a voice actor, there's, you know, you work for a lot of different studios. And if you're in LA, there's many different studios that you work for, and a lot of them are the middle company. You know, so Netflix or whoever will hire this company to do that stuff. You know, so yeah, this is a group of people that I work with very often, and I can't remember. Those two I did not audition for. Those two were roles that were like, you know, they just gave me the role.
Okay.
In most cases I have to audition for.
Okay. Which ones did you have to audition for?
Well, actually, Children of the Whales I did not have to audition for. Devilman Crybaby I also didn't have to audition for. Both of those I did not have to audition for, but I would say about like 80% of the roles that I do have, I usually have to audition for. Netflix has a whole different system too, though. There is a very smart system. So there, what I assume and what I've heard is like for instance, my name, because my name is, you know, is most anime fans will be familiar with my name. So they can go, okay, well, if we bring Johnny in on this, then, you know, we'll have however many viewers. So they have like a point system. So it's like a very smart whatever system that's like, well, if we put him in this project, then that will help, you know, bring this many people to watch it, you know. So I assume it was that way for those projects.
You've been working on the English dub for Legend of the Galactic Heroes, the newer one, but we believe that you're also
Legend of the Galactic Heroes?
Yeah, Legend of the Galactic Heroes, and that's like currently airing, the newer one. Oh, is it a different one?
You know, I'm not really sure. Is that what is that? Is that an anime?
It was at that moment when Sloane thought she done goofed. Arigato. Sayonara. I mean, Johnny Yong Bosch is a busy guy, so maybe it's possible that he forgot that he starred in Legend of the Galactic Heroes as the character Man. But at the time, I thought I messed up. So we're just gonna skip past all this here where I'm embarrassed out of my mind.
But what I really wanted to know is, are there any noticeable differences between working on an English dub over at Bang Zoom versus Funimation?
Oh. That's a good question. There are definitely differences in how they approach the work, and it really depends on the title as well. But there are differences that I would notice, but I think most people would not, because, you know, I do the same things. I go in, the script is, you know, there in the script. Usually you have a director. Most cases you have a director on both sides. Actually, here's the similarities: is that it's been translated or written by someone. Sometimes it's the director that you're working with, but most times it's not. And then that director is also a writer or an actor, and so on the fly they adjust dialogue. You know, because every actor is a little bit different when they approach the dialogue. So sometimes the writer has written too many words or not enough words, and so the director, whoever is there, or even the actor, has to, like, you know, add, you know, pauses or some dialogue to it. Differences, noticeable differences. For me, it's hard to say, because my perspective is very different, because I live in LA, you know, and so if I have to work on something with Funimation, typically I have to fly to Texas.
Okay.
You know, occasionally they'll have a studio that they hire in LA, but I don't know how much I'm supposed to say about that. I mean, I could say I was working on another project with Funimation, so I recently, just 2 weeks ago, I was working on something there. So I
was it perhaps free?
I can't talk about anything.
Okay.
I do feel like there's a little bit more time with Bang Zoom, whereas Funimation, they have the streams that have to come out immediately. So usually there's not a lot of time. Like, we have to work pretty fast. And with Funimation, because I don't live there in Texas, my days are a lot longer there. So I'm there, you know, whatever it was, like 6-8 hours or whatever a day. Whereas in that Bang Zoom, I'm in there for maybe a couple hours.
Okay. Have you ever found it difficult to leave a character behind once you finish voicing them?
Yes. Well, sometimes, Bleach, for example, you know, we did 366 episodes. The ending was a bizarre ending for me, you know. It was kind of odd because it didn't feel like a complete ending. And I knew the manga had continued, you know. So I was a little bummed, and so then I started to ask people for the manga. Okay, can I see it? And do you have a copy of it? I want to see what happens. Yeah, because you get so attached to it. I mean, it'd been many years I've worked as this character, and then I didn't get a satisfying ending for me, you know. And I was like, I know that's not how the story ends, you know. So there's certainly things like that, you know. Or even Free, you know, with Makoto, it's like, man, I really want to see more of that character. Even though Code Geass ended the way it did, there's been rumors that there's an R3, but that was kind of the opposite though, because I'm like, wow, I really liked how it ended, but I'm really curious to see what's going to happen, you know.
Okay, so you weren't just attached to the character that you voiced, but also the overall story.
Absolutely, yeah. Even with Trigun, you know, and I think that's the first project I worked on, and again, you know, at the end I was like, man, I want to see what else happens, you know. Because you become that character, or most actors I think do, you know, because you put so much of yourself into that character. You have to find a way to relate to that character, even if you're nothing like that character. And so you are that person when you're playing that. And maybe some actors aren't, you know, maybe they just go in and they do their thing and they walk away. But for me, I really feel like I grow attached to specific characters, unless it's one that's like super fast and there's no time to relate, you know, you're working like a day or two on something. But yeah, if I'm working on something for a few months, years, yeah, I'm attached to that character, you know.
Eureka 7 High Evolution was released in select theaters at the end of 2017. What was it like to voice a familiar character after so many years, but with a different ADR director?
I'd worked with Jonathan many times before, so I had no problem with that. Going back to that series was one that it's a series that I really liked, and so it was kind of cool to come back in and experience it again in a slightly different light. Yeah, and I mean, I had fun. It was certainly fun to work on it.
Oh, so you still felt like the same emotions that you did back when all those years ago?
It was different. Yeah, it was definitely different because there's a little there wasn't a whole lot of time, but there was definitely more time involved in the character because we still, you know, cause with that one, I replaced somebody else in the original series, and so the first 13 or 18 episodes we did like within a week or so. It was like super fast because we had to catch up, and then after that, I was working on that for however many episodes there were, like 50-something episodes, right? Yeah, so I was really into that character and that story. And so seeing it in a slightly different light, kind of re-envisioned a little bit, there's some things that I was like, oh, I really like this, you know, but it was still fun to come back and be a part of that, you know, even when I came back for the other one and I was a much older Renton. Yeah. That was fun as well.
Oh, great. And so what was it like to get into the mindset of voicing a cat Like Artemis from Sailor Moon.
Super fun, you know. I mean, first off, we did Crystal and the older series as well. So, which the older series is much more fun for me to play. Because for whatever reason, he feels like he feels like a little like Vash, because he's somewhat goofy, you know. And so it's not too unfamiliar for me. And then to occasionally get the meow in there is kind of great too. But I'm not really great on meowing, so I do actually kind of try to purposely sound like a man who's not good at meowing, do the meow, so that, because I'm hinting at the idea of like, this cat can't actually talk, but you know, he's meowing to cover it up. And so, I mean, that's why it would sound like an obvious, that's a strange meow. But yeah, it's a lot of fun to play, actually, it really is. There's a DVD, I think it was a Blu-ray, but they sent like all these interview questions for us for the Sailor Girls, but it was sent to me as well, and I was like, well, I don't think this is for me, because you know, my character wasn't that involved into the story at this point. And so, and there's like maybe 20 questions, and instead of like answering them all, I just put meows on each one of them, like meow, dot, 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 meow, exclamation marks, meow, question mark, you know, and it's all meows, and I sent that off to them. I was like, there you go. And they're like, no, we want actual answers to the questions. And I was like, oh, okay. And so I answered like 2 of them, and then the rest of them I sent meows. But yeah, because I'm into character, you know? I thought that if the fans were to open up that booklet and see from me as Artemis to see just all meows, they would have been happy with that. You know, they don't need my real answers.
I'm so happy that he was able to take the time to sit down and allow me to interview him. But that whole cat thing, am I right, guys? Are you a fan of Johnny Yong Bosch? Did you learn something new? Let me know what your favorite role of his is. Special shout out to Chang Musty and Anthony for donating to my Patreon. If you want a special shout out in the next stream, video, or what have you, then please click on the Patreon link in the description to donate. And check out the links in the description to my other AnimeNext content, including a cosplay music video, vlog, and all-off interview where you learn more about the anime industry on the opening and ending themes process. And there are also links to my social media. I'm your female otaku. Sayonara.